Which film about a musician is better? A Star is Born, La La Land, or Whiplash? I can't decide by myself. Luckily, I've got a podcast where I can force people to debate about that with me.
Oh my God. I'm off the deep end.
I got shanghaied.
I feel like while watching the movie, I was like, oh, shit, like, you're really doing this.
Hello and welcome to The Screen Test. My name's Jack Howard and I'm joined as always by the chief film critic at The Independent, Clarisse Loughrey, 1/3 of the cyber nerds, Joe Ikhinmwin.
What's good?
And this week we're joined by singer, songwriter and serious musician, Dodie.
Hello.
So here's how this show works. 3 films are going to go up against each other. We put them through a series of rounds, including cast, memorable scene, and cultural impact. And then based on your arguments, I get to decide which one is best. And you might be thinking, Jack, why do you get to decide which one's best? Well, to quote a friend of mine, who's coincidentally on the show today, I have great taste in art. Isn't that right, Dodie?
Yeah. Listen, I don't know why I said it. I was on tour. I felt mental.
I think you said I have great taste in art about liking the film that you're talking about today.
I think so, yeah. And a list of other things.
La La Land is going down today, for sure.
Going down?
It's going down.
Downtown.
Sir.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, downtown.
Where the lights are.
Right, okay, I like the energy. I've just watched The Sound of Metal on Prime, which is a beautiful film about a drummer in a heavy metal band who begins to lose his hearing and how he copes with that. It's been nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and Riz Ahmed is also up for Best Actor. So it's the perfect time, I think, to discuss what we think is the best film about a musician. Not necessarily a musical, it can be, but it has to be about a musician. So Dodie, you're the guest. Go first. I think Joe's already spoiled it, but tell us what you're fighting for today.
Okay. Well, I would just like to say, firstly, that I do know other films.
You do quite famously talk about La La Land.
Yeah, I do. So I should be pretty good in this. But yeah, I thought about a few others. I was like, I wonder if there's any other I can choose. But La La Land is the film I've chosen because it's just so damn magical. It's amazing. Iconic, delicious, colourful, bright, brilliant music, and I love it. Joe, stop it.
Joe, what have you got going up against La La Land?
Today I brought to the table the psychological musical thriller that is Whiplash.
Whoa.
So it's interesting. We've got Damien Chazelle against Damien Chazelle.
Chazelle versus Chazelle. Who will win?
This is his highest honour, I think. Not winning best, not the youngest person to win Best Director, but this. He's going up against himself on our podcast. Mm. Clarisse, what have you brought?
His yet unproduced movie.
Another remake of it.
No, I didn't pick a Damien Chazelle film because he hasn't made any to choose from. But I sort of am half cheating mentally in my head here because when you said music film, I immediately thought of all the Star is Bornses. Like, it's a great tradition in Hollywood that, every 20 years or so, 2 very famous people get together and make a movie about the rise and fall of, well, it started off with actors, but now we've kind of shifted into musician territory, but the rise and fall of stars. I could have picked any of them, but because I would like to win today, I went with the most recent one because Lady Gaga.
And let's start with cast then, since we want to talk about that. Is this version of A Star is Born your favourite cast? Because I have not seen all of them, but I think they're both both Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. I mean, actually, I think what Lady Gaga does in this is convince me that this is all new to her, which is amazing. Like, she's Lady Gaga, and yet it feels like this is a whole new world to her.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because everyone was like, well, like Lady Gaga has proven everyone that she can act. And as an American Horror Story fan, I've been here like, hey, she already won a Golden Globe for doing the Countess playing a very old vampire lady who's sad all the time. But this is definitely a different level of Star is Born. I don't know. I'm torn between this one and the 1954 version because of Judy Garland, and it's maybe Judy Garland's best performance. But second behind that, maybe that's my favorite, and second behind that is Lady Gaga, because it's again that thing of what these films have been so brilliant for is stars being able to kind of express a part of themselves in a really interesting way, because as much as Ali is a character, and she's definitely playing a character, she's also basically playing herself. It's sort of her life story in a fictionalized form of someone who had always doubted herself. And this is a thing that, you know, Lady Gaga has always said, that so many people did not want her to be successful in this industry because, you know, she didn't look right. She had like the nose.
How famous. Do you think a lot of that stuff that's in it is probably spawned from her like telling Bradley Cooper like the reality of what it's like to be a massive star like that? Because it feels pretty legitimate, and I don't know if Lady Gaga would let certain things, I mean, she's so powerful in that world, so I don't know if she would let certain things happen in a film if they weren't authentic to her experience of being a pop star. I don't know though.
Yeah, I think what she was very adamant about was the music being authentic. And so that's why when they're doing the live performances, they're actually live performances, and they went to Coachella and they went to Glastonbury, and Bradley Cooper spent months learning how to play the guitar like an actual musician, and that's him doing it, and it's really convincing, which is pretty awe-inspiring, you know, doing that and also being the director and writer and all these things.
So did Ryan.
I'm going to call Ryan Gosling out here.
Oh, here we go.
Because I remember the whole press tour of La La Land, he kept saying, yeah, I learned
I
piano.
can only play those songs. Yeah.
But in 2009, he released an album that I love called Dead Man's Bones, where he plays the
What?
piano on it. So he's
okay,
lying.
so he had some former practice. But I think there's a different thing between, you know, Plinky Plonky and jazz.
This is true. Like, he definitely had to become better at the piano, but
Hey.
I mean, there are some
kept
pretty
acting like
extensive
he'd
close-ups on his
never-
fingers
Yeah.
dancing across the keys.
Thank you, Jack.
It's
No,
still
no problem.
impressive, but I just want to point out he did know how to play piano before.
You argued that so well. I don't know if I can do it as well. But I will say Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling have such on-screen chemistry that we've seen in various other films. I don't actually know how many. There's quite a few, right?
Yeah, they are in Crazy Stupid Love Together. They're in
Gangster
Squad.
I haven't seen that.
Not a good. Don't
It's
watch
not
it.
good, yeah. And
I bet
I think this is the third, but there may be another one that I'm forgetting about as well.
No, I think this is the third
Yeah.
one. What I really like about their pairing in this movie is that they're both kind of semi-comedians, or they have a really like a goofiness to them.
Yeah, which they have, I think, in real life. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just really works well for that film, because you don't want two actors who are going to come at it really seriously, like especially the dance moves and the fantasy sequences. And so like I love all the little moments where Ryan Gosling's just being weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally texted Dodie about it when I was revisiting La La Land for this. I was like, I forgot how funny, I mean, they both are, but I forgot how funny Ryan Gosling plays it. Like,
Yeah.
entirely, like, the introduction to him is just, it could be straight out of a comedy film.
It's a nice way to say that. Ken.
What does he say? I got shanghaied.
You didn't get Shanghai. You got laid off.
Just when he's like, you don't like jazz?
Yeah.
Like,
It's even just
I
like
know
the
that
mannerisms
person.
of Gosling when he walks into a room and just like flinches at something.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
love that.
He's so good at that.
Yeah. Pishy cracker.
Pishikaka. Yeah, what is it? I mean, their chemistry is obviously unreal. But what is it about them individually you think that they brought to those roles in La La Land that you like? Could you picture anybody else doing what they did?
I can't believe that. Was it Emma Watson was supposed to play that role? Did you know
I don't
that?
know. I know that Miles Teller was supposed to be Gosling's role.
Whoa.
He could have probably did it better.
Ooh.
And JK Simmons is basically Fletcher, which is
He's like a toned
really
down
odd.
Yeah,
version
when
of
he
I
grows
was
Fletcher.
like,
up.
oh, crossover. Yeah, I don't know. I think Emma brings this sort of like, yeah, goofiness, like kind of wide-eyed, like magical nature, but also her like driven personality. Like there's like a strength in her that I really love in Mia.
I really love her introduction when she's practicing for an
yeah.
audition, and then you
She's
find
so
out
good.
it's an audition while she's doing it because she's such a good actress.
Ah, so
and then
smart.
during that audition, when she
wells up
is,
into tears.
yeah, and then somebody just interrupts her. It's one of the most.
Incredible. I don't know how she did it. Like to time those like tears so perfectly. And the irony is she's acting inside of acting. It's like, I don't know, wild. I also love Ryan Gosling as Seb because I think he's so good at acting, like portraying this kind of like closed off, semi-angry, like strict person. I don't know. And then the two of them, like, I think they warm to each other, and that's really nice to see. Like, Seb kind of melt to her. Yeah, I don't know. They're just such an iconic couple.
Yeah, Joe, yours is obviously very different. Yours isn't. Well, it's got a duo at the center, but it's a very different relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like the relationship between Miles Teller and JK Simmons is actually great.
Literally abusive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people will call it abusive.
I think
it's definitely
No, I
abusive.
say it's definitely abusive. It's definitely
Like
abusive.
in the literal terms of it.
Obviously,
but
there's a question
He throws a
as to
chair at him.
Yeah, I mean, but I
slaps
feel...
him.
Listen,
Yeah.
Mind games.
all of that is important because for some people, that's a reality. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that in this movie, they dive into that, and JK Simmons plays that so well.
Yeah, he
does. And just lets you into the mind of like a crazy
Narcissist.
professor who's like, I'm gonna get the best out of someone. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he definitely knows that like you can't be great without having this element of crazy around you, and he's trying to pull that out of.
Well, at
his
least that's
students.
his.
That's
perspective.
his thinking on
Yeah,
the,
that
on
like
the,
there's
on the
no
process.
great art without, you know.
Yeah.
I think he's a narcissist, like a psychopath. I'm not even sure if it's for Miles. I think it's for himself to be like, I am a great teacher, but like that's never spoken. And JK
No.
Simmons does play that
I
so
100%
well.
agree. I 100% agree with that. Like at the end of the day, he wants to be the guy who taught
Who
Yeah.
founded
that.
somebody.
Yeah, who found
Yeah.
that star, and I just feel like he portrays that so well, and he dives into it, and he's trying to pull a masterpiece out of one of these kids, and he knows that he can do it. And I actually love that about the movie. Like, he's definitely the villain of the whole thing, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
I just think it's amazing.
And I also
Do you know what I'm
believe
saying?
why Miles Teller would want to impress him.
100%.
Like, I totally
I think-
get why
yeah.
you'd want his approval.
It's not even just him. It's Miles Teller and it's everyone else. Like even when he comes in to the room, everyone in the band is like, yo, like
Terrified.
we've got to take this seriously. Like
He's
we've
like a
got
drill
to do this
sergeant.
thing. Yeah. And I just feel like J.K. Simmons is so good in this movie. It's just crazy to me. And I think even that Miles Teller being the kid who wants to impress the teacher is amazing as well, because the whole time I just believe it. You just
Yeah.
believe it.
I
Like
will say, like, right at the end when he's like crawled out of a car crash and is drumming and bleeding, like there's no communication, like no dialogue in that last scene, and yet you see the two sort of like play with each other and like even just like flickers of the hands and like slight smiles.
Yeah.
It's done so well.
Yeah, that final sequence when when J.K. Simmons' character has tricked
Yeah.
Miles Teller into not rehearsing the right song.
yeah.
Just that entire sequence when they are just speaking to each other through the roles that they are on stage as the conductor and the drummer. Like he's just like when he goes over to him and he just smashes the cymbal in his face and he reacts to that. I love how Damien Chazelle got them to like how clear that relationship was even when they weren't speaking to each other.
Yeah,
And
so-
then all the other things is what like the relationship that you see throughout the movie that Miles Teller has with the girlfriend character and his father, and the scene in the when they're having dinner with his family, and no one's taking him seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely feel like I've had situations like that coming into the world of art and having my family not really understand what it is. What I wanted to ask you though, Joe, was being somebody who works in sport. Have you had or seen a relationship that's similar to the relationship between Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too deep, but I definitely had a coach that I felt like was like J.K. Simmons. No matter what you did, he was going to be against us. And I felt like for us, because it's a bit different, because I play a team sport in basketball, we use that as a good energy to rally together almost against the coach, and that what helped us propel forward. And I feel like it's so different here because this shows how that kind of coach can like destroy someone. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that is so important about this movie. But at the same time, I think it goes both ways because, you know, obviously when they tell J.K. Simmons that one of his past students has passed away, he's actually torn up and devastated by it in that scene where
Is he?
Ooh.
I mean, he goes into the office and he is crying
Okay.
He is. I mean, that happens.
Yeah,
in the
but
movie.
is that guilt though? I mean, is
Yeah.
he sad because of the death, or
Yeah,
because
it's
he
interesting.
knows that he had,
Something to do with it.
something to do with it?
I mean, I don't know. For me, I felt like he was actually torn up because at the end, I feel like that JK Simmons' character at the bottom level of it, he just wants to make someone good. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's crazy. He's this. He's that.
But I mean, do you think he's justified in how he does things like that?
It is a question, I guess.
I'm gonna sound crazy when I say yes. Do you know what I'm saying? But I do think he is. Like, I feel like he gets it, but he definitely goes too far. Do you know what I'm saying?
Especially in music. Like, I feel like in sport, maybe this is a bit more common, but as a music film, like, I mean, maybe that was the idea of like, turning this sort of abusive coach thing into a weird genre, but I don't think that's real.
I mean, I feel like greatness transcends what art you're playing or sport. Do you know what I'm saying? Like to get the best out of someone, he believes this is the way. Do you know what I'm saying? Doing it perfectly isn't enough, and that's the bar he's trying to push for. So, I mean, I feel like in his mind, he's definitely justified.
I feel like it's very striking to me that in his orchestra, there's not a single woman, because it's like the type of abuse, the type of sort of abusive relationship he has with his students. I mean, the only girl that we see, the only woman that we see in this movie is one that he dismisses and says that she only gets to have first chair because she's pretty. And it's like, I can instantly imagine what it would be like to be a woman in his orchestra. Like, the amount of abuse that she would receive, like she wouldn't be able to, I think there's a gender aspect to what he's doing.
There might be, but at the same time, he berates everyone. Do you know what I'm saying? There's another student in the class that he says, like, he's blowing on his boyfriends. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he comes at everyone with the same energy. Do you know what I'm saying?
But
I don't know if
Clarisse,
he does, though.
are you saying that, like,
he threw a chair?
I think there's a reason that there's no women.
That's basically
in
what I
that
was gonna say,
He
orchestra.
threw a chair at a student.
But I think the reason, like, the way we hate him so much just goes to show how well he's been painted.
Yeah, and JK Simmons portrays that perfectly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like for some of these other movies, I feel like there's a couple characters you could swap out. There's no swapping out JK Simmons in this role, 100%.
I have my reasonings for this, but I think all the cast in this are incredible. But I'm going to give top points. Weirdly, even though it is a remake of a remake of a remake, I'm going to give top points to A Star Is Born, because Lady Gaga made me believe that this was new to her, and Bradley Cooper.
She's so good.
She's so good in it, and Bradley Cooper is also incredible. Probably the best role he's ever done, and he directed it. I think that's just
Fair.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I agree.
Yeah.
So good. And then I'm going to give 2 points to Whiplash, because you can't get better than JK Simmons in that film.
But
and
you
then,
didn't give me
even though
3
I love
points,
it,
Jack.
I'm going to give 1 point to La La Land
It's
for
okay,
Emma
I'll win
Stone
next one.
and Ryan Gosling, even though I absolutely adore them. Sad me to do that. Sorry, Dodie.
It's okay.
You've got some time to back it up. Let's
I
get
will.
into memorable scenes then. Go on, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly iconic. I wrote down earlier that there was a recreation of the opening scene in the Golden Globes in 2017, I think. Yeah, I feel like, what did you call it earlier, Clarisse? A bit of a nice night or something.
Yeah, I forgot the
Lovely
name
night.
of the song,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
called it a bit of a lovely night. It's the British version of it.
I feel like the poster is iconic now.
Yeah, you're right. Like, everything in it is easily recognizable.
Yeah, definitely.
Instantly.
I think it's become a classic, which is funny because
In
I think
5
it really
years.
builds on. Yeah, it builds on like various other classics as well. I love the like kind of playfulness between Seb and Mia. It's very reminiscent of Singing in the Rain, like when Dawn jumps in her car and she's like, "Get out!" Yeah, it's just so sweet and old-fashioned. And
Do you have a favorite that pops out to you? Because obviously they're all incredible, but do you have a favorite sequence that you'd revisit?
oh my god! I mean, I think when she's working in the cafe at first, and then she gets a notification for her audition and like runs back and pops back, and then it cuts to the audition scene and she's just got coffee
Yes.
all over her shirt. I love that. I don't know. I literally could just like go on from one until the other. I think Mia by herself and then finding Seb, like walking through LA, is so fun. Oh my God, I don't know.
Yeah, that bit at the beginning when she goes into the bar, and then we cut back to
It's
Seb's
magical.
perspective of that entire day.
Yeah,
I think
that's so
excellent
smart.
as well.
I remember like seeing the trailer, and it started with the dream sequence clip where they like kissed and the camera rolled around them. So when I saw the film for the first time and he just pushes past her, I feel like the whole audience were like, oh,
Yeah.
what's happening here?
But I really want to speak about the end sequence,
Yeah.
the what could have been sequence.
Yeah.
Because I think that's very much her perspective of what could have happened.
Really?
Since he sacrifices getting his whatever he wants, like he doesn't get that, but she gets to be a famous actress and he's just stood beside her, which they're both happy in it, but she gets what she wants and he doesn't get what he wants.
Right, because like it's just some random man playing at the piano at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love that sequence so much.
Me too.
It breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it in the cinema when it cut to, is it 7 years later?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. And I had no idea what they were about to do.
Yeah.
Cutting from that sequence of them, where are they sat on the Hollywood, the observatory?
Griffith Park.
Yeah.
And it cuts to the palm trees and then turns into a poster. Yeah,
Yeah.
and because it's gone through the seasons and it says like summer,
Yeah.
but like this many years later.
Yeah.
And then you get the like waiting to see like what's happened, and she walks into a house and then some random man comes and then Seb is all alone cooking this.
I feel like I'm emotionless because I just feel like the outcome of the movie is the best outcome for both of them.
Yeah, I mean it is in a way, but it's still heartbreaking because you've fallen in love with them, and I feel like they needed each other to get through that rough time, whatever it was. And
I feel like that's what the movie shows, that like they both play a pivotal part in their lives, but they don't need to be together to be successful and be who they need to be in the universe. And and that's why don't feel like it's heartbreaking, because it's like they both provided each other with what they needed for the time they was together.
But didn't you feel the love? The love and support?
But it's still like a that's the thing. It's still, that's the sad part, is that they had to sacrifice something. And so they decided to sacrifice like their relationship versus the things that they wanted individually. And even if like it is the best outcome because they both still seem happy, it's still sad. Like,
I just
it's
feel
just
like
sad.
it's part of the
They're
process if that's what
always
you're
gonna
going
love
for.
each
Like
other.
if your individual goals are that's
But they didn't even know that like love was a part of their goals until they found each other. And then just think of that scene when they're like, I'm always gonna love you. I'm gonna love you forever. That's heartbreaking.
I feel like there's just a lot of sacrifice that gets made with pursuing anything to the highest level.
Yeah, and it's
I feel-
painful.
It is painful, but that is like, you go in knowing that's what you're going to do. Much like in Whiplash, when he sits his girlfriend down and he says, look, I'm trying to be the best. We can't
what
do
do you
this. Like, he
think of
cuts
that
that off
scene?
at the beginning because he knows where he's going. Do you know what I'm saying?
Because in that scene when he's saying that to her, he comes across a little bit.
It sounds
removed.
Like a bad person.
He sounds like an arsehole, but at the same time, it's like he understands the process and isn't trying to go through the La La Land process. He's just like, look, I'm nipping this in the bud right now, and I'm focusing 100% on what I'm going to do. But that's not even my favorite scene of the movie. My favorite scene of the movie is the Russian or Dragon, where I feel like it just defines all
Their whole
characters
relationship,
in the movie. Do you know what I'm saying? And their relationship. Like, it shows JK Simmons as uncompromising and abusive, as we've put out there. And he
And terrifying.
yeah,
Yeah.
scary as well. Like, he gets everything across in this one scene. And Miles Teller also just shows you that, like, no matter what happens, no matter if I'm doing it perfectly, that he's just never going to quit. Do you know what I'm saying? And I just love that scene because I feel like it's the whole movie. Like, if you play that scene in isolation to anyone, they get it.
the camera work in the scenes there as well. Like I remember the moment when JK Simmons charges at Miles Teller, the camera like quickly readjusts to where he's going, and it makes you jolt like the way it does that. And then there's just a bunch of incredibly intense close-ups on their faces that feels really claustrophobic, and it's incredibly
where it's just
well
like the
made.
eyes.
Yes.
Like that's my favorite shot.
The end sequence when they're that's the last shots, isn't it? Is of their eyes meeting each other.
Yeah, and the moment of him being like, all
I
right.
approve.
I feel like it's not even I approve. It's like, all right.
Yeah, right.
Okay, now we're playing the game.
Yeah. Now you've matched me. You yeah.
I kind of read it that he's going to become Fletcher because you see like his character throughout the film, the way that he treats other people becomes increasingly abusive as well. So I think for me, it's like the ending is like, oh, like he's also become a monster. Like the monster has birthed a second monster and we're all in trouble.
I don't know about that. I feel like I definitely don't feel like he would go down the Simmons role. Like I think at the end of the movie, JK Simmons birthed what he wanted to birth. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it shows that Miles Teller is that guy. Do you know what I'm saying? He gets kicked out from school, he still comes back, and even when he walks off stage, it's like, oh, all right. You feel like J.K. Simmons' character's won, but Neiman comes back and he's like, no, like, I am that. Like, imagine everyone leaving that audition and talking about the drummer who didn't know the song but came back and then led everything. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think you're totally right. I
yeah,
think like he gets exactly what he wants, but I think the question is, at what cost does he become this amazing drummer? And I know at the end he's definitely, I get the impression that Neiman is doing it for himself and not for Fletcher anymore, which is who he was trying to impress the entire time.
Oh.
But he's doing it for himself to be like, fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, Neiman gave up everything and was willing to give up everything the whole time. And I feel like Neiman reaches his goal. And that's what I think is the most important part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think he reaches his goal, but I'm left with a feeling of like, it doesn't feel like, yes, it feels like, but I've seen what that means. In order to be that, is that something that he should be trying to do with his life? And I'm all, if people want to do that, obviously, but I think that the feeling I'm left with is almost like a gut punch that he's willing to sacrifice that much in order to be that.
It's tough, but he says it during the movie, like he'd rather live to 35 and be the best than live to 100 and no one know who he is. Like, so I feel like that's who the character is. And at the end, I'm like, yeah, like Neiman, you got it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I feel about
that's
it.
So interesting.
Like, that's who he wants to be.
That ending scares me a little bit because I think it is just like, not to do this whole like relevant to today, but when we're talking about how people treat each other in the various kind of arts industries at the moment, like a lot of the defense for abuse has always been like, but they're such a genius, they're so smart, that's just how they act. And like that's the part of Whiplash that I find really affecting and quite scary, is the idea of like, well, yeah, this is the mentality that leads to abuse and leads to people propping up abuse, because we go, well, it's for the art, it's for the music. It's like, it doesn't, who cares if you're throwing chairs? They're talking about Charlie Parker. It's like they threw a symbol at his head and that's how he became a genius. And it's like the idea that this is the only path is through suffering.
Yeah.
And it's like, with The Shining with Shelley Duvall, like, the only way that they could get a great performance that Stanley Kubrick could get. Yeah.
I just want to point out we've only really talked in depth about 2 scenes in Whiplash, because I feel like, the rushing or dragging bit and the ending are iconic, but in La La Land, there are countless gorgeous moments.
Only bringing it back to a points thing.
Come on, I've got to win.
Even though I have enjoyed the musicals that the show has put me onto, I just feel like it's just different.
Did La La Land not do anything
different.
for you at all?
No. I enjoyed La La Land. I did. I'm not going to say that I hated it or anything like that. I actually really liked the movie, but I just feel like it's not. It doesn't touch me as deeply as Whiplash. Or A Star Is Born.
Well, speaking of, let's go to A Star Is Born, because we haven't actually heard about that for a little while. We've been dedicated to the abuse, the cycle abuse. So let's.
3 points of abuse.
Wow.
I mean, which one stands out for you in A Star Is Born? Really,
I'm off the deep end.
when she got
just
peas
singing.
taped to her hand.
No, I think my favorite is when she performs it live for the first
Oh,
time.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good.
And the
Shivers.
little brilliance of little brilliant moments that she does where she keeps putting her hands over her eyes because she just can't believe that it's happening to her and that she's so talented. And it's like such an incredible, like exhilarating moment of watching quite literally a star be born and her
And
sort
you
of
can feel that it's
disbelief in that.
really happening on a stage with a real crowd. Like you can
Yeah.
totally feel that in the film, and it makes me compare it to like Bohemian Rhapsody, where it's like that's not real. You're not really there.
With the little CGI people going.
Yeah, the little PlayStation 2.
Yeah, and that was a really big thing. I know that Gaga, before signing on, she was like, right, we need to make the music authentic because it has to be true to my experience as a musician. And that's a really big part of it because, she's so sort of, she really thrives off live performance. And so she didn't sing along to any tracks. She was doing the piano, everything live. And it is, it's interesting how much you feel that, how much it comes across, that you're in there in the moment with, and I think as well the camera work is amazing. It's Matthew Libatique did the cinematography, and he's the guy who does all of Darren Aronofsky's movies, which are very sort of abstract and in the moment and really like visceral, and you're really feeling what the characters are going through. And the way that he shoots the live performances are great because it's the same effect of like you're on stage, like you're with the musicians.
It feels like you're seeing an onstage performance in a way that you've never seen it. Like you're seeing all the bits you shouldn't see.
What I really like about this version in particular is that all the past ones, because of the gender politics of the time, have had an element where the man becomes jealous of the woman's success.
That is my absolute favourite scene, is when she calls him out on it and then he pushes cake in her face and then they have a little... I think that bit is like so refreshing because I'm waiting for him to be annoyed that she's getting successful as a like cringy thing. I'm like, oh, is this where it's going? And it ultimately kind of doesn't go there in this version.
Yeah, I think it's really well handled because there is certainly like he has a weirdness about her career because he has this idea that she's not being authentic to herself, but I think it's interesting how they allow the film to be critical of that perspective. When she is really upfront about him saying like, it's my song, when he's yelling at her in the bathtub going, oh, you came around in an ass with an ass like that and those jeans, what the hell is that? And she says, well, it's still my song, like this is my music and I'm still expressing myself. I'm sorry that it's not the way that you want me to do it. And so I really like that it's a more realistic perspective on that relationship where it's not just him being jealous. It's him feeling, a kind of insecurity, a kind of protectiveness towards her because he loves her and he wants her to be true to herself, but also so much of it is the effects of the addiction. And what I love so much about this film is that it takes that so seriously. There's nothing flippant, there's nothing overly glamorized about it.
Not at all. And I also like that it's not just... There's one thing that does bother me, which I'll come on to in a second, but I like that it's not just he's an alcoholic. There is a very explicit scene where Bradley Cooper's character, Jack, confesses that he tried to kill himself when he was 13. And I like that it's not just linked to the drinking, but it literally is about a battle with depression that he ends up losing. The one bit in it that I would criticize it for, and I already fucking hate that manager character anyway, like he is the worst, and they perfectly cast. But before he decides to end his life, there's a scene where he literally, sits him down and says all the worst things that Jack could ever want to hear. And I think it's strange because I think it could quite easily be interpreted that, oh, that's why he did it. And I don't really like being like, okay, he had a scene where somebody said all the horrible things and then he decided to hang himself, when actually it's been a lifelong battle.
But I think
I feel like for me that it pushed a button. He was always on the edge. He was on the edge the whole time, but that was it. Do you know
And maybe
what I'm
that's
saying?
just a way he's interpreting what's
like
being said. Maybe it's just his inner
builds.
thoughts, really.
He feeling like he's holding her back is like, for me, that was the tipping point. And the manager just puts that on a plate and says, yeah, you 100% are, when he felt like he was the whole time anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, I felt like that was actually a great scene, and I feel like while watching the movie, I was like, oh shit, like, you're really doing this. Do you know what I'm saying? Because obviously, in the manager's mind, he doesn't know where Bradley Cooper's mind is at.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And he's doing what's best for his artist, and like the repercussions of that are, do you know what I'm saying, affect everyone. And I felt like that was like a great scene. That was crazy for me.
Yeah, I think I just sit in a sensitive place of just, I don't like the idea that like it could be linked specifically to that conversation.
I don't think that was the whole reason.
No,
I
not
just
at all.
felt like
No.
that was the tipping point. Like that was the.
It was everything he thought
Yeah.
about himself
Yeah.
just manifested.
Yeah.
I will say, when I saw the film, I didn't know of the story. Like, I had no
Yeah,
idea.
I'd never seen another version of it before.
And so when he killed himself and it was the end, that was really weird to me. I think that's an odd ending. And though it is like, a story told again and again, I was like, so it happened? And it's just like, he struggled so much, he died, the end. You know?
Yeah, it is. It's a bit of a bitter ending. Not even a
Yeah.
bittersweet one. It's just bitter.
In the other versions, either the 1937, 1954, he walks into the sea, and then in the Barbra Streisand version, it was like a motorcycle accident. But I did like that they make this choice, because they were going to go with the walking into the sea version, but there is something really, really brutal about the way that scene is shot, and quite triggering, I would say, for people who haven't seen it. Like, do be careful about this movie. It is really viscerally upsetting.
Yeah, it does not shy away.
But I think, like, for a film like this that could so easily have been wrapped up in the glamour of, oh my God, it's Lady Gaga, to be so real about this topic and to be so upfront about it, especially with her, I think it ties into her image as well, because she's always been such a huge mental health advocate. That's been a massive platform of hers. So I think to really make that the center of this film is what I really like about this version, because I think in the other versions it's not always the center of it.
Okay, well done, everybody. Excellent movies. Again, difficult to give out the points, but I'm just going to be biased. I'm going to give La La Land top points, because I think that every moment in La La Land is pretty iconic.
Damn
So
right.
3 points for La La Land. I'm going to give 2 points to Whiplash, because you can't whack the rushing or dragging scene.
2 points, one for every scene. Just
And then 1 point for A Star Is Born, just because I think that individually the scenes maybe don't stand out just as much as the ones in La La Land and Whiplash. Joe, I saw that you were quite upset about not getting top marks for that.
I was actually devastated. I'm actually devastated.
All right, I understand. I can only apologise. Okay, the final round that we've got is cultural impact, and surely La La Land wins for that just by famously not winning Best Picture at the Oscars.
Oh my God. I mean, has that ever happened before?
Never. I remember.
Well, there
do you
you go.
remember
There's
watching
your
that
answer.
live? Were you with us?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
it was just like we were all a little bit like something's wrong.
Yeah.
It was just so strange to watch it.
Oh my God, that was so weird.
Is this the envelope mishap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
was
Moonlight one.
working and I was ready. I was packing my stuff up because I was like, well, La La Land won, time to go home. And then that happened.
What is the cultural impact of La La Land then, Dodie? What effect do you think it's had on cinema?
Well, like I said, I think it's become a classic, like, quite quickly. I don't know. I mean, it is, like, beautiful. And I also think because it's, like, a love letter, like they keep saying, it's like a love letter to LA, a love letter to Hollywood. I think a lot of artists and actors, musicians, whoever, can relate to the struggle.
Do you think that we would have got this new version of A Star Is Born if La La Land hadn't happened? Because there was there wasn't an appetite for musicals when La La Land was being made.
My whole thing is that the cultural impact of Whiplash is we got La La Land. You know what I'm saying? Like from him making the short film of it. In
With Evan Peters.
Yeah, in 2013, and then that getting the full backing to make the full movie that then goes on to be amazing.
And for
then,
anyone who doesn't know as well, the short film version of Whiplash was just it was just the first scene with Fletcher when he comes in.
It's like 18 minutes long or something.
Yeah,
it's like a short film.
It's just the scene though. It's not even its own short film. It's just that scene from Whiplash, basically shot for shot the same. Just not. It doesn't look as pretty.
And then obviously like that gives us the energy where we're getting La La Land later on down the line. And I feel like anything that you're about to argue about La La Land doing, it started with Whiplash.
Which one is bigger?
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, but that's usually how it happens. You know, that's usually how it happens. Like
that's great, but it doesn't change the fact.
If Whiplash
if
he didn't
iconic.
do Whiplash, there'd be no La La Land. That is the point.
Great,
do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, La La Land may be bigger, but
Thank you.
for me as a fan and just a regular movie watcher, I hadn't watched La La Land. I had watched Whiplash. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that kind of like touches more people on that level outside of musicians and actors and people in the film industry.
Clarisse, what do you think about the cultural impact of these movies?
I don't know if it's fair to say that more people have seen Whiplash, because I remember when La La Land came out, like there was full on like mass hysteria about it.
Yeah,
like the amount of like outdoor screenings, like
and it almost
I went to a
became,
La La Land dance class.
It was annoying
that
it was so obvious that it was going to win all the awards. Like it so quickly annoyed people. Do you know what I mean? It got to that point fast.
Like it was a huge, and that's the great thing about La La Land is that it really did bring the musical back to the forefront in a way. Like we wouldn't have The Greatest Showman. That's the thing that we wouldn't have. However people feel about that movie, like that was also a giant.
Don't say that. I might have to take a point away from Dodie now.
What do you mean?
For it being responsible for The Greatest Showman.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry about that.
That movie's got some fun tunes. I don't mind it.
But I mean, A Star Is Born.
Yes.
Kind of has carried a cultural legacy for decades.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like every 20 or so years, someone comes along and makes a new Star Is Born, and it becomes this really interesting, like, little pin that you put in film history. And what's great is we'll be able to look back in 20 years from now and look at the 2018 Star Is Born and say, hey, what does this tell us about the era, how people saw fame, saw relationships and gender politics, how did this fit into Lady Gaga's career? Because, you talk about the Barbra Streisand version, the Judy Garland version, like they're both really big moments in their respective careers. And both sort of, for Judy Garland, it was meant to be this massive comeback because she had attempted suicide and had her MGM contract cancelled. And so this Star Is Born was meant to be her opportunity to sort of come back into the spotlight. And with Barbra Streisand, it was sort of her boyfriend at the time, John Peters, like it was this combined effort to like make her look sexier, because they were like, we need to make Barbra Streisand look sexy. I mean, that movie's kind of a disaster. So we can ignore that one. But then I think, we will look back to this A Star Is Born and be like, oh, hey, this was like the beginning of something for Lady Gaga, because she's doing the Gucci movie now. Like she's probably gonna win an Oscar at some point.
I mean, she did win an
actress.
Oscar for music,
for the song.
But you think for acting?
For acting, yeah, I'm fully convinced that she's gonna have a massive acting career ahead of her.
So you think the cultural impact of it has yet to be
It's
fully
her
established?
Well,
it's an interesting.
That's crazy.
I feel like
not really. I'm just saying that
it's in
like
a long line of already made.
Yeah, but I think it's not cheating because like it's.
It does stand on its own.
Part of it's like another chapter in this massive cultural legacy. And also, it birthed that really great meme of her going, there can be 100 people in a room and 99 don't believe in you, but one does. It can change everything.
But La La Land, you like jazz?
Yes.
That's from the B movie, though.
It is. But combined.
I feel like the B movie deserves the point.
Yeah, you're right. Scrap all these
jazz.
films. B movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Well argued. I think for me, I'm just going to have to go from what I think, and I think it's going to have to be top marks to Whiplash because
What?
Damien Chazelle wouldn't have been able to do what he did.
That doesn't mean, but La La Land
Thank
is
you
way
for
more
seeing
iconic
sense,
than
chat.
Whiplash.
I think
But-
you're right, but in terms of cultural impact, Whiplash,
it birthed it.
He wanted to make La La Land and no one would let him, so he made Whiplash. And
True,
then,
but would Damien Chazelle have ever fallen in love with the musicals if he'd never seen A Star Is Born with Judy
see,
Garland?
we're going. This whole thing
Probably.
is all
Take
timey
two
I mean,
points,
the
Clarice, you're good.
reason that he made La La Land is because he grew up with a love of classic musicals.
That's true, yeah.
One
But
of them
you're
is
not
A Star Is
arguing
Born.
for all of the Star Is Borns.
You're right.
You're arguing
This
for
is
this
true.
particular Star Is Born. So I think I'm going to give top marks to Whiplash, three points for Whiplash, and then 2 to La La Land,
Whoa.
and 1 to this new version of A Star Is Born, which I think has had the least cultural impact, although I think it is amazing. So right now, Whiplash is on 7 points, La La Land is on 6 points, and A Star Is Born is on 5 points. But we have one last round, which is nothing to do with me now. Like, my voice has been taken out of the equation. This is the people's vote. It's the IMDb rating. What do you think your chances are in this? Like, what do you think the rankings are for these movies? Dodie, take it away. Where do you think it's going to land? La La Land. Huh? I just joke for the fans.
Oh no, I don't know. I'm not very good at this. A Star Is Born, La La Land, Whiplash. No, A Star Is Born,
Interesting.
Whiplash, La La Land. That's my final vote.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, what
That's
does
what I
everybody
think.
else think?
For me, I feel like La La Land's gonna come out on top because just more people have seen it and it was like positive. And then I think it's gonna be A Star Is Born, and I think Whiplash is gonna come last. But at the same time, I feel like less people have watched Whiplash and more people are more inclined to be like, it's great.
This is so interesting.
Yeah,
Clarice,
so
what do
I'm
you
putting
think?
Whiplash last.
Whiplash
Like,
last, okay.
I might put
Whiplash. I'm full of them.
Stop.
Because no one really dislikes Whiplash. Well, I feel like there are, bad people who we don't like who hate A Star Is Born and La La Land.
All right, well, there's only one
So,
way to find
yeah.
out. Let's do it. Alexa, tell me the IMDb score for A Star Is Born.
A Star Is Born has an IMDb rating of 7.6 out of 10.
7.6
Beatable.
out of 10. Do you think that Whiplash and La La Land can beat that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
That was all the stands. The Ariana Grande stands came in and they downvoted it.
Okay. Alexa, tell me the IMDb score for Whiplash.
Whiplash has an IMDb rating of 8.5 out of 10.
Whoa. I get this one.
8.5.
Tough.
That's a significant lead over A Star Is Born.
Well, no one dislikes Whiplash. That's the thing.
Can
I
La
don't
La
think I've ever
Land
met
beat
anyone.
8.5?
I'm now thinking.
Are you a
yes.
believer?
Yeah, I think so.
You think it can be 8.5?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, we'll keep those fingers crossed. Alexa, tell me the IMDb score for La La Land.
La La Land has an IMDb rating of 8 out of 10.
Oh!
8 out of 10. So that means the final scores: A Star Is Born with 6 points, La La Land with 8 points, but leading and winning, Joe and Whiplash with 10 points. Well done. That means you get to take home with you for how many times have you won this trophy now,
I think
Joe?
this is the second. Is this
this only your
or
second
third
time?
Maybe the third time.
Maybe the third
Maybe the
time
third
that
time.
you're winning the prestigious Screen Test Award.
Oh, I just got an envelope. La La Land has actually won.
Excellent satire.
Oh.
Excellent satire. Joe, are you ready for me to pass this
I'm
to
very
you
ready, thank you.
through space and time?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I've still got it. It's a trick.
I just want to thank my coach, JK Simmons, for, you know what I'm saying?
for continuing that cycle of
Yeah.
abuse.
For keeping it going. And I will continue the cycle in my post-career. Thank you.
Wow, what a note to leave
Disclaimer,
on.
that's not true. I'm not
Obviously,
gonna continue
we're joking.
any cycle of abuse. Please, don't sue.
Please don't.
Don't hate me.
Congratulations to Whiplash for officially being named the best film about a musician of all time. What do you think? Do you agree, disagree? Is there a film that we didn't talk about that you think should have been mentioned? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to check out The Sound of Metal, which is available now exclusively on Prime Video. It's without question one of the best films made in the past year, so give that a watch. Plus, Whiplash and La La Land are also available on Prime Video, so you're spoilt for choice. And we'll be back next week to argue over what we think is the best DC character that's had the best film about them between Batman, the Joker, Joker and Harley Quinn. We'll see you then when we decide that it's obviously The Dark Knight. Like, obviously it's The Dark Knight.
Wait, this doesn't seem fair.
Obviously.
Bye-bye.
I'm back.